Good evening, everyone. Grace and peace. Thank you for joining us for another Bible study session. As we're getting settled in, getting all warmed up, let's make sure that we like, tag, and most of all, make sure that we share. Let's check on our audio. Make sure that we've got good video. So if we're looking pretty good on that, we're going to get ready to get started. Hope you all once again have had a great Thanksgiving holiday. To those that I haven't asked that question or posed that consideration to, pray that you have all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. As we continue moving forward into the Christmas holidays, I pray the same for you all as well. All right. I'm excited about tonight. We're grateful to God for what He shared with us on this past Sunday. We've been discussing going over to the other side. And we're going to just go a little bit further into that tonight. I believe this is not just a word or a message per se for a particular local body, but I believe this is a clarion call to the body of Christ at large, that there are instances in our walk with the Lord that there is this beckoning or this call, the invitation, if you will, to go to the other side. And I just feel like this is another one of those occasions. So as we're settling in, just giving you an idea where we're going to be going with that thought tonight. Good evening, everyone. Let's like, tag, and most of all, let's make sure that we share this with somebody tonight. I believe it's going to truly be a blessing to us. Great to see all of you tonight. So I'm thinking that we're looking pretty good, sounding okay. Just want to check this. It looks pretty good. I know you've all probably got your heaters on. I'm just going to check one other thing right here, and then we'll be ready. Let's see here. That looks good. Okay, we're looking good on YouTube. All right. Okay. All right, so we're already at our magic number. So let's get ready to jump right in. I pray that you all have been having a blessed and a prosperous day. And we want to bring this day to a conclusion with something productive. And that's going to end our evening on a good note. Again, we cannot stress this enough as to how grateful we are to God for how He blessed us in many aspects and many ways of the service, from Sunday school to praise and worship, to the preaching and taught word. But we are just eternally grateful to God, because I believe that we're better because of what He shared with us, encouraging us all to cross over to the other side. We're grateful that this invitation included Him along with us inside of that boat. So I want to start off by encouraging you all tonight that you're not in this alone. As believers, as children of God, the boats that we are in as we navigate through life, we are accompanied by the presence and the power and the person of the Holy Spirit. We are grateful to God for being with us as we chart our course, as we navigate our way through this life over into eternity. That's something that I just want to be mindful of, to add in addition to what we've been saying on a consistent basis as how we navigate through this thing we call life. But we're not only just navigating through life, but we're navigating through this life into eternity, which is our ultimate goal. So we're grateful to God for considering us in this great plan of salvation, loving us enough to lay out this plan for you and I to partake in. So we're grateful to him tonight. I want to also say that we had a very productive glean session on last night. We want to give God praise for that and thank God for all of our participants, those that came out. It was very enlightening, encouraging, resourceful. A lot of things to a lot of people last night. And we're just grateful to God for opening that door of opportunity in the ministry to provide another service for those who may be in need. So we're grateful to God for and thankful to him for gracing us again with his presence last night. So much was said, a lot was accomplished, and we're looking forward to the next one already. So, and that is for ages 19 to 40, and thank God for that. And we are in the works. We have other sessions, times of discussion and devotion and prayer, interacting, that we're putting together for other demographics in the church. So just continue to be prayerful and patient with us, and we're going to put that together as soon as possible. We were talking last night about steadying the ship. The reason why I brought that up is because it has a close relation to what we were talking about on this past Sunday as we were encouraged to go to the other side. And as we go to the other side, there we will encounter some winds at times, waves, undercurrents, just different things that you will encounter on that trip to the other side. So I want to start off tonight similar to how we started it off on this past Sunday, just briefly talking about the other side. We talked about how, and I'll just put this image up for just a second. We brought out a few things when we were talking about the other side on this past Sunday, and what that looks like and what that means to us when we talk about the other side. Again, we talked about how the other side was totally different than the western side of the Sea of Galilee, and how things were calm, if you will. Things were, I would use the word, manageable. The other side, as it relates to the calm side, which was the west side of the Galilee, it didn't require much as it relates to what the other side will require. Now, I want you to keep that in mind. I can't stress that enough. The side of the Galilee, of the Sea of Galilee, that we know Jesus to have taught on the Beatitudes, Sermon on the Mount as we know it. He did perform some miracles. People knew of him. He revealed himself in certain ways, in certain aspects, to a certain degree. People have this knowledge of him. But when you cross over to the other side has a totally different culture, if you will. The other side has certain requirements, certain expectations that the previous side did not demand. I just feel like that for most of us as body of believers, that there is, again, this invitation to cross over to the other side. There is much more to be done, not just from a spiritual aspect, but also from just a practical, everyday aspect. I believe that we want to cross over as it relates to our everyday walks as people of God, crossing over into something greater, something more challenging, from relationships to careers, to dreams and aspirations that grow across the board. But in particular tonight, we're relating that to the church and how we evangelize and how we do ministry, our intimacy and connection with God personally. It is time for us to go over to the other side. And we can see the significance of this. As soon as they crossed over to the other side, there was a demoniac waiting on them, if you will. There was a woman with an issue of blood. There was Jairus' daughter, who was in a desperate need of a healing on the other side. Not saying that the previous side didn't have meaning or relevance, but it's just that as you cross over to the other side, there are certain demands and expectations that we're going to have to come to grips with as we cross over. And I want to put a phrase up that we mentioned on Sunday as well. Now, as you encounter this transitioning process, we made mention of this in passing, and we didn't really stop and park there for just a moment, but I want to do it just for a moment tonight. Now, as you cross over to the other side, and though the other side may have its challenges, the other side may have certain requirements and expectations that you're not accustomed to from the previous side, and you may feel a bit intimidated at the sound of crossing over or the invitation to cross over, because you got to keep in mind, the disciples that were in the boat with Jesus, they were familiar with and they have heard of the other side. And so they were not just totally oblivious to the other side. They had some knowledge of it, but never really experienced the other side. So to some degree, we can take that and say, well, there was an intimidation factor when Jesus said, let's go to the other side. Let's take the ministry to the other side. Let's take the teaching to the other side. Let's make it practical. Let's take this relationship to the other side. Let's take this family. Let's take it to the other side. Let's do more. Let's go to the other side because we expect to do more than what we did from this side. And so you may be wondering why or how we're going to do that, how we're going to get that accomplished. Well, the storm that we will talk about, the tough times that we're about to talk about, that's what's going to qualify you for the other side. So no matter what's awaiting us on the other side, not only do we have Jesus in the boat with us, but it is the actual storm that qualifies us as well to go over to the other side. Because watch this, it is in the storm that they found out that there was another level to Jesus's ministry. I'm going to say that again. It was during the tough times, it was during the storm where the disciples actually found out that there was another level to Jesus's ministry. Because remember what they said in the text. They said, who is this man that even the winds and the waves obey? Now remember, they've seen him perform miracles before. They've heard his teachings before, but they never knew that his influence, his authority would be something that would be impacted on this level, so much so that even the elements would obey his word. So now they have experienced Jesus on a different level. How many of you can attest to this? You found out more about the God that we love. You've experienced more about Jesus in ways that you never thought possible in the toughest times of your life. I made this comment also on this past Sunday about how it was the things that went wrong in my life that really had the most impact in my life for the better. It was those things that went wrong that really developed you and I, if you just look at it at face value. It was the things that didn't go quite so right, those things that didn't turn out like you planned them to. But it was in the midst of those things that went wrong, it was in the midst of those plans that didn't turn out right, that Jesus stepped in and made a way anyway. So if it had not been for the things that went wrong, I would have never known him to be a God that can keep me in the midst of chaos. So in actuality, the storm qualifies me for the other side. The old song talks about how he'll be a doctor in a sick room. He'll be a lawyer in a courtroom. Well, how would you ever know him to be a doctor if you've never been sick? How would you ever know him to be the type of lawyer that we claim him to be in those circumstances if we've never had our backs against the wall? So we can safely say this. If it had not been for the things that went wrong, if it had not been for the things that disappointed us, if it had not been for the certain things that let us down, we never would have known him to be the type of God in our lives that he's shown himself to be in those times if it had not been for the trouble. So the storm qualifies me because I found him to be a deliverer. I found him to be a counselor. I found him to be a friend. I found him to be a loving and a merciful God. And there are only certain environments that you're going to find out certain things about people who are with you. Matter of fact, I was just having a conversation with someone today during one of my sessions. And the one thing that I told them was, if you really want to know who's on board with you, travel through a storm with them. Think about that. If you really want to know what type of friend that you really have, because sometimes we use that term loosely. If you really want to know what type of friends that you have, what type of relationship that you have, look at how they handle storms when they go through storms with you. The case in point, Jesus was in this boat with them. He went through a storm with them, and they found out exactly who he was on another level. They found out who he was in the midst of a storm. Sometimes you find out exactly who you have. I'll put it this way. You find out if that person is right for you when you go through wrong situations. You find out if that person or that relationship or that connection is right for you when you go through bad or difficult or what I would call wrong situations. So it took the storm during the transition. It took the storm to develop their perspective further about who Jesus was. I'm going to say that again. It took the storm to further develop their perspective and knowledge about who Jesus was as they traveled through the storm en route to the other side. If it had not been for the trouble, if it had not been for the disappointment and the aggravation, then you would have never known Jesus on that level. So the storm qualifies you for the other side. Because when you think about it, it was about as worse as it could get from their perspective. The storm, from their perspective, was about to take them out. Think about it. If you're going to go to the other side, and as challenging as it is on the other side, you're going to have to be prepared. You're going to have to go through a stage of development and preparation as you go to the other side. Now, what's going to prepare you? What's going to groom you, if you will, for the other side? It's going to be the storm. It's going to be the trouble. So you may be going through a tough time right now, but use that storm to your advantage. Okay? Use that difficult moment that you're going through right now. Use that to your advantage. That is going to be the qualifier for you. How can you say that you want God to use you on a different level, in different ways, in different aspects, more than just the status quo or the routine ways that he's done it in the past? You know, you had that yearning and that desire to be used more of God and to increase that level of intimacy and relationship with him and whatever that means to you. Well, sometimes it's going to take that difficult time, that difficult moment that takes place in your life to help develop you and further qualify you for what is to come. I was also sharing it with somebody today as well. I love to give my testimony because my first ministry that y'all know hold dear near to my heart is my marriage. And I told him, I said, I'm grateful for the tough times that we went through together because we really found out what we had. Some of our greatest lessons were revealed in the storm. Some of our greatest times of growth and maturity took place when our backs were against the wall. If you think about it, as I said this past Sunday, when those things that have gone right for you, when things have gone your way, if you would just be honest, whenever things turn out exactly like you want them to turn out, and God does, and I use air quotations, he does exactly what you want him to do. If the truth be told, those were not really moments of growth. Those were not really moments where you learned, where you matured, but it was when things went wrong, when things didn't turn out like you wanted to turn out. You got a lot of lessons out of that. There's a song that says, I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'm better. He said, when I look back over what he's brought me through, you know, that, and that's just simply saying, in a way, I'm grateful and thankful for the things that I've gone through, because I'm stronger and I'm wiser and I'm better because of it. So that storm that we're experiencing, 2023, was a storm for a lot of people. The entirety of this past year, soon to be this past year, has been a storm within itself. But guess what? 2023 actually was your qualifier for 2024. I just want to remind somebody of that again. What's preparing you for next year? What has or what is, because we're finishing it up, what has or what is positioning you for the next year? It's the storms that you went through. The fact that you're still standing, that you still have soundness of mind, you still have joy, you got some scars, you got some bruises, you got a little bit of residue on you from what went down this year. But when the rubber meets the road, you're still here, you're still alive. And the fact that you survived, the fact that you made it, is your qualifier for 2024. My wife has been posting this, I think it was maybe a week and a half ago, about, you know, reminding us that you can't have victory without a battle. What makes you victorious? The fact that you went through something and you made it out. And not that you made it out, but you came out better. You came out with a little bit of more knowledge, a little bit more insight. You're now better prepared. Now, if by chance something else happens, you are now better suited for the next battle. Did you know that you're better now because of what went wrong? You're actually, just survey yourself. Look at what's left. That's another sermon right there. Don't look at what was lost. Look at what's left. And if you just survey what's left, what survived, what's left is actually all that you needed. Sometimes it's okay to lose people. Sometimes it's okay to lose material things. But what's left is what's matter. What's left? I got wisdom. I've got knowledge. What's left? I've got patience. What's left? I've got temperance. I've got those intangibles that are left that's really going to be helpful in me moving forward. So what is it that is going to help us prepare for the other side? It is everything that challenges you. It is everything that tests you going to the other side. So what does that storm look like? What does that, when we talk about the storm, what does that actually bring? Well, the storm should bring a little bit of enlightenment. Now, let me just tell you what I mean by that. The storm itself should enlighten us a little bit. And a part of that enlightenment involves realizing that, you know, there's really no one at fault all the time. There's really nobody to point the finger at. Storms just happen. I mentioned this a little bit Sunday, I think I did. Storms just happen at no fault of anyone all the time, but it's just life itself. Storms happen. So we got to get over that fact. You got to work on that perspective, that there's nothing necessarily wrong all the time with you. Remember, it was Jesus that extended the invitation to let's go to the other side. You know, all you did was just get in the boat. So in all actuality, you were in the will of God. And then a storm came. Anybody ever felt like that? You just minding your business, obeying God, in the will of God. You got in the boat just like he told you to get in there. You're doing everything according to plan, the way he instructed you to do it. And then all of the sudden, here comes a storm. Anybody felt like that this past year or at any point in your life? Well, that's not the time to be trying to blame yourself. It's not time to be pointing fingers at anybody in particular. Sometimes it's just life. Sometimes things just happen. Sometimes storms just come. And I don't care if it's your child, your marriage, my marriage, your body, my body. Things just happen. Even Jesus said, in this life, you will have, paraphrase, storms. In this life, you will have problems, troubles, storms. And that should be comforting to some degree, because it doesn't make you feel like, it doesn't leave you feeling like there's something wrong or I'm weird or strange. But no, storms happen. Just as sure as we live in this life, trouble comes. But he said, but we can be of good cheer. Why? And I paraphrase, because I am the peace speaker. Just knowing that he has the authority, has the ability not only to speak to the storms on the inside, but he's also can speak to the storms around me. That is very reassuring. That's why he said, but be of good cheer, because I've overcome the world. Now, does that not galvanize your faith and trust in what he said once you've actually been through a storm with him and you've seen him actually speak to the winds and the waves? Can y'all imagine what that does to your faith? To see Jesus, imagine yourself in that boat and to see him say, peace, be still, and everything around them just begin to calm down. If he can do that, then certainly he can handle a demoniac man when we get to the other side. If he can, I saw this man speak to the winds and the waves, the very same thing that we saw people die from, that we saw take people out. This man spoke to this situation and it calmed down. So now I'm ready to go to the other side. Can somebody say that tonight? Now, because of what I saw him deal with and how he handled the storm that I was going through, now we are surely prepared for what's on the other side. Just know that it was something that they needed to see. They needed to see that there was nothing too hard for Jesus. And then for them to see that in the midst of a storm like that, then it certainly galvanized their faith as it related to where they were going and what they were about to face on the other side. Now, I'm going to say this and I'm almost done. What I perceive this year to have been for a lot of us is a qualifier. Okay? This is what I perceive this coming soon to a close year, 2023. It has been a qualifier. No, you didn't necessarily, like I said Sunday, no, you didn't get any type of credentials or bishop or pastor or church or nothing like that. But what you got was a qualifier from the storms that you endured and that you encountered, and you came out on the other side. So now, there were people on the other side who were waiting, unbeknown now, not literally, but they were waiting for someone to cross over, namely Jesus, in this boat to the other side. And just like there were people waiting on him on the other side, I believe that there are people, situations, circumstances waiting on you and I to go to the other side to deal with certain situations as well, whether it be healings or encouragement, teachings, whatever it may be. Your position in this earth as a father, as a mother, a husband, or wife, whatever it may be. There are circumstances that need your credentials on the other side. What are your credentials? My credentials is I've been through a storm. I thought that there was no way out, but there was a man by the name of Jesus who was in the boat with me. And he calmed the conditions. And because of what I witnessed, that experience, watch this now, has gotten on the inside of me, and it has elevated and increased my faith. And I don't believe that there's anything that my God can't do in my life. So now you're ready. I'm just going to say that and I'm done. Now you're ready. Now you're ready. Because of all of that spun out of control, now you're ready. So I want to speak a little bit on this. I'm trying not to get too much into our discussion for this coming Sunday, but I just want to come on here for just a moment. I know we were off last week, and God has been speaking to us profoundly during that little break that we had, and we have some things that we want to further get into moving forward to Sunday. But I wanted to kind of do a recap, touch on just a few things moving forward, and just to encourage and remind us once again that there is another side that we've got to go to. Okay, there's another side that you and we've got to go to, and the storm was necessary. That storm was necessary. If it wasn't for that storm, then you wouldn't be who you are. You wouldn't know what you know. You wouldn't have experienced what you've experienced to the degree where it pushed you forward in God like it did. Yeah, as painful as it was, it was necessary. May have caught you off guard, may have caught me off guard, but it didn't catch God off guard because he knew you needed a qualifier. And that is, and it was, your qualifier. Just take a look at yourself now. Just survey yourself right now. And can't you honestly say, you know what? I'm actually better because of that. You know, I'm actually better because of that. If it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't know this. I wouldn't watch this, believe like I believe, or trust like I trust, or just know like I know. So it was necessary. The Bible says that all things work together for the good of those that love him and are the called according to his purpose. All right. So, hey, I said I wasn't going to be on here long, and I'm going to stick to that. I'm going to go into just another aspect of this teaching. I want to stay on this for just maybe one more Sunday. Like I said, when God is trying to get a message across to us as a leader, as a minister of the gospel, I don't want to just look for good sermons for the day, but I want to get the message across to the people. And I just feel like this is a message that God wants to get across to his people. He wants us to get in the boat, accept the invitation to go to the other side, embrace and understand that there may be a storm, more than likely, but the storm is beneficial to you, and it's going to help you in preparation for where we are going. All right. How many of you are in agreement with that tonight? If you're in agreement with that tonight, let me see the appropriate response, and I'm going to get ready to sign off and get out of here. I want to remind you all of this coming Friday's trip. We ask that you all would be prayerfully considering those who are going to be traveling to Cartersville, Georgia this Friday evening for the Trojans semifinal game that's going to be held up north. So y'all consider us in your prayers as we get on the road. And also thank you all for your prayers and considerations toward Sister Gloria Rush and her family, her husband, those that have been prayerfully considering Sister Sandy Stiles. Thank you for your prayers concerning her as well. It is greatly appreciated. As we move forward towards Sunday, let's be mindful and prayerful concerning the service on Sunday as well. Let's come expecting God to do that which only he can do. Remember, he's the one that spoke to the winds and the waves, and they obeyed. And we expect him to be no different in your life as well. All right. So with that being said, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for spending this time with us tonight. I pray that you receive something that's going to help you cross over to the other side and where God intends for you to be. All right. So y'all have a great evening. Hey, y'all stay warm. We got a freeze warning, I think tonight or either tomorrow night. So let's be cautious and be prepared for that. Grace and peace, everybody. Y'all have a great evening, and may God continue to strengthen your hands for the work that lies ahead. Y'all have a great evening.